Seems fair to me. Fair decision.
Yes, it did.
Well, if you don't know what fair is, you can't make it. Unacceptable by any reason.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Hey, thanks for joining us for this edition of Donnybrook, the 1st of March. Isn't it so nice how the browns and gray hues just kind of mix together to form what might be spring in St. Louis? Hopefully soon. Thanks a lot to our friends at the Gatesworth for making this program possible, as you do week in and week out. Let's meet our panelists, starting with Wendy Wiese from KTRS and beyond. She's the media veteran, along with one of our founders, Mr. Bill McClellan from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Another founder, now with the Riverfront Times. Again, second time's a charm. That's Ray Hartmann, and from the St. Louis American, STLmag.com, and many other places, including the Dave Glover Show, Mr. Alvin Reid.
Let's all sing California Dreamin'. You just kind of just set the stage.
Well,
all the leaves are brown and the sky is gray.
And Bill, you know that song well. Name the band?
I do indeed. Mamas and Papas.
Oh, I'll take rock songs for 50.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you've hit my wheelhouse when you're getting back Mamas and Papas.
Yeah. I wonder if it's your wheelhouse with this Better Together. A couple of developments this week. Among other things, we learned that Steve Stenger, the county executive, who was the county executive on the 1st of January 2019, according to the Better Together language bill, is going to be the new Metro City mayor, even if, or unless 3 things happen. If he moves out of the area, if he resigns, or if he's unable to perform the job. But if he's recalled, or if he's indicted or whatever, apparently he still will be the Metro City mayor by virtue of being the county executive on January 1, 2019. And when the folks at Better Together went back to Jefferson City to revise the wording, apparently they still didn't revise that. What do you make of this?
Well, I think it's wonderful. I mean, this is the craziest story that I've seen in my entire newspaper career. You know, we have nothing in common politically with the people of rural Missouri, but we want them to make the decision for us. It's as if Boston said, you know, for our next mayor, why don't we let Alabama pick? You know, we don't care. And now the idea that this could all come to fruition, that we could have a county executive who gets thrown out by the people, who then assumes the unelected czarship of a new community made up of a city that voted not to pull in the county, and the county that didn't want to go in with the city, and you say, who are you guys making us do all? It's great. I mean, it makes me hope that this all comes to fruition and Stenger gets thrown out and then the county votes to merge the city and the county, you know, outstate does. It's great. It's great.
I just think, like, you know, at the bar, if there is a bar in heaven, probably not. But anyway, I think like Huey Long and Pendergast and Mayor Daley. They're sitting there like, yeah, this is the kind of government I remember. By the time we got back to this kind of thing, will of the people. I got no time for will of the people.
Well, what also happened this week was Nicole Galloway, the state auditor, kind of weighed in and she kind of didn't, Ray, because she kind of said on the one side this, on the other side that. She has to come up with some sort of fiscal note for this, right?
Yeah.
And so she said, she kind of quoted the Better Together people and said there'll be $1 billion in savings. And then there are municipal officials who say it'll be just the opposite.
Well, she used the word unknown a couple times, and I would not be surprised if she doesn't, if she clarifies this, because Better Together is jumping on, you know, sort of a validation from what she said. And as I read, this was not like she took an audit. Okay, all she did was a fact-finding mission where she went to all the departments. She's by law required to ask the Department of Agriculture how this affects them, and they said not at all, and asked various, you know, and in fairness to her, she took the city and the county's arguments, which they are obviously pro Better Together, and suggested what it might, you know, some people basically are saying it would be $1 billion. I don't think it should be taken as an endorsement by her of anything.
Well, especially since, the folks behind Better Together, God love them, they really haven't taken the green eye shade and sharpened number 2 lead pencil and crunched the numbers or gotten deep in the weeds, as they say. They just basically took a lot of the budgets of the municipalities, and then they took 3% off the top, added 2% for inflation, and that is the very rough way that they came up with these numbers, right?
Correct.
That in itself is cause for alarm.
Right.
I mean, that is kind of terrifying. And as you said, they haven't really gone into the weeds. And with this, situation with Steve Stenger, it is. I mean, it's funny because it's like a Netflix streaming comedy, dramedy, whatever. But at the same time, this is our future. This is this is tragic and very alarming. And so, yes, it would be great copy for you, but it will certainly.
And Wendy, you bring up Steve Stenger. Let's go to that. Steve Stenger, the county executive, did show up at a meeting of the St. Louis County Council this week. He was there for the Q&A, and then he left. But he had missed 9 straight meetings starting around November. And so, in what was, I think, really an unprecedented action, members of his own party led the effort to voice a resolution asking for his resignation and his recall, and they were joined by one Republican, Ernie Tracus. All Democrats, members of Stenger's party, voted to oust the guy, and now that is going to Wesley Bell, the county prosecutor. What do you think is going on here?
Well, but Wesley Bell's, just to up front, his chief of staff, Sam Alton, is that his name? He said that the prosecutor is not likely to get involved in this kind of thing, that he is much more preoccupied with criminal justice, and that this doesn't fall into his wheelhouse, and that he sort of took no, we're not really involved in this. We have no intention of getting dragged into this. I think it's fascinating. I don't think it bodes well for Steve Stenger. I mean, I know that he still stands in line to become king, but this is awful. When your own party, when there's so much anger and bad blood between a sitting county executive and his party, the members of his own county council. This is, I think it is unprecedented, to use your word, Charlie.
And I think the most alarming thing about the whole Better Together debate is how raw the nerves are and how bitter this is looking to be here, as just something where I don't remember this much emotion in any local issue for all these years, and it isn't good for the community, quite frankly. I mean, it's really and I do think that Stenger's the least defensible thing of every part of this proposal is the idea that in 2022, the voters can be trusted only to pick their city council. And again, I have a lot of problems with it beyond that, but that in fall of 22, we go to the polls and pick our new city council, but we can't be trusted to pick the mayor at the same time. As if that, and that to me is, I think it actually hurts Stenger. It increases the chance of a move to recall him just because of that, and we'll see how it plays out.
He is in violation of the charter.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean that out of meetings.
I'm sorry. I think if you're the county executive, you should abide by the county charter.
I think you should go to the meetings. I mean, what town, what municipality, what the governor doesn't show up for his whatever, just like what. But in St. Louis County, the county executive can miss 9 straight meetings, and that's perfectly acceptable. I think what the Democrats are doing, and Tracus, is symbolic. And in point, how ironic is it that if Steve Stenger had to run for the same office he did 3 months after he was elected the first time, he probably would have lost. And here we are again 4 years later, and if he had to run for office right now, he'd lose. And then he might get thrown out of office, but yet with all that, he might still sit in that chair. Only St. Louis could put itself in this situation.
You got to give him credit. He's all in on the Better Together. I mean, when you know that your constituents don't want it, and you say, well, I don't think you guys are really capable of self-governance. Let's let rural Missouri take over here. I mean, that's going all in, and you got to kind of admire the guy for being willing.
And they're all in. You're right.
I don't admire it. I don't admire it
I don't
at all.
either, but you're right. They're all in.
Yeah.
And that's the frightening part.
Well, they're not. Look at Mark Harder and Ernie Tracus, Tim Fitch, not Bill Fitch, Tim Fitch, who did not vote for it. I thought that was weird, unless apparently, if he is removed, the charter says that he'll be replaced by a member of his party from the county council. So maybe that explains why the Republicans did not want to get rid of him this way. They're waiting for an indictment or some other
it
removal?
could be that. And then also, you have that aspect, and I think there is something to this, especially with Tim Fish, in that right now in government, a lot of things are going on at state level and national level where I just remind people that somebody else is going to be president, somebody else is going to be governor one day, so let's not start doing things really out of hand, because somebody's going to inherit that.
Well, we had a coup, the Republicans had a coup in Jefferson City when they threw Greitens out.
They did indeed.
So, I mean, we're kind of hot for this right now.
Folks, we're going to take a quick break here and then come back in a moment. But first, we want to ask you to join us for Donnybash 2019. Here are some of the details.
Hello and welcome to Donnybrook. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm Phil Wright and I'm a member of the 9 Network. And I'd like to invite you to become a member also if you're not already one. It's an easy process and you can become a sustaining member at the $12 level. And when you do that, you'll receive 2 tickets to Donnybash, which is on September the 26th. It's a Thursday evening. It's a great time. And along with your 2 tickets, you also receive the 9 Network mug. At the sustaining level of $5 a month, you receive 1 ticket to Donnybash, or for $5 a sustaining level, you could receive the mug. Believe me that becoming a member of Channel 9 is an easy process. We have volunteers on the phone bank ready to take your call. Other ways to support Channel 9, you can become a volunteer yourself. We certainly want to thank Alfonso's Restaurant in Troy, Illinois, just a short drive across the river, for providing our volunteers with their food tonight. Alfonso's has great pasta, pizza, salads, subs, and terrific wings. Becoming a member of Channel 9 is always easy, and we invite you to call in now at the number on the bottom of the screen, which is 800-568-9099, or go online to 9net.org. That's N-I-N-E net.org. Now we're going to go over to Mary Ann.
Shot with me when we opened. All right, Charlie, Brennan, always lively here at the Donnybrook table. I know, and we're looking forward to the next Donnybash, which is, I know we say it may be later on in September, but it's going to be here before we know it. It always comes around so quickly.
And it's always the highlight of the year. You know,
Yes,
the
it is.
broadcast that we always look forward to, and we mingle with folks who want to support the 9 Network. And then we have our big program starting at 7 o'clock. That's live, of course, followed by more mingling, and of course the bar is open, and that always makes it good, Mary Ann.
Yeah, so when the doors open, people are invited to come in. I know the parking at the Sheldon is fabulous. It's so easy.
Good.
And there are refreshments before the broadcast, after the broadcast, so it's a busy night for people.
Yeah, it starts early, goes late.
And
This
we
is
like
the way
that.
we like it,
I
right?
think we like it. And you've always said, too, don't be shy. If you've been before, come back for another time.
Oh, absolutely. You'll
That's
see
what you
some
like.
familiar faces. There's always new people. But, we're there to meet people and say hi, so we always have a great time.
And what about performing and doing the broadcast in front of a live audience? What's that like for you all?
We're terrified.
Yeah.
No, it's fun. We actually draw energy from the audience, and we ham it up too much, but we have a lot. That's really what makes it special.
Does
is
the
that
audience ever
interaction.
take sides during an
Oh,
argument?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Absolutely.
But occasionally the other people get some applause too. No, actually that's not true. It's really unpredictable.
You are a favorite.
Well, no, that's not true.
You and
no,
Bill.
that's not
He's
true.
one of the 5
Well,
favorites.
yeah.
I think Alvin.
He's in the top
probably
5.
is. I was going to say maybe, but it isn't a competition for that. But I would say year to year it could be different depending on what's in the news and what positions we're taking.
Alvin is the
it's-
one, though, who really kind of comes alive. That Nearings Hall, Kirkwood.
Well, that's-
He is
Yeah,
the theatrical
Yeah, you
trainer.
have the theatrical
That's
chops.
the theatrical
Hey,
trainer.
we're on a stage, you all. They put us up here for a reason.
a little
right.
unfair.
Exactly. But no,
Yeah.
Bray's right. When you do a live audience, there is a feeling of anticipation in that, one, it's not like you're saying something like incorrect or stupid, but it's more like they're right there. So whatever point you're making, they're either going to like it or they're not. But either way, it's right there. You don't have to wait long for a
No,
reaction.
the reaction is immediate, and everything is kind of exaggerated, I think, the night of Donnybash, and the audience definitely gets in on the action, all of the action.
The audience is part of the show. Now,
There's
that is,
no question
that's
about
the really cool thing about it is even without them trying, because the Sheldon is just acoustically perfect and there's not a bad seat in the place,
Right.
people tell me, like, I had no idea that I would be that close to the stage and that much a part of the show. We don't get to do that because we're not in the audience.
It's an amazing facility. Not to have a Donnybrook with Mr. Reid here, though. When he talks about saying things incorrect or stupid, after doing it for 32 years, you don't really have a fear. If you've been saying incorrect and stupid things for 32 years, it just sort of comes naturally to you. It's not like embarrassing.
This is our big fundraiser
we
of
do
the
have
year.
fun with it.
That's why we really appreciate everybody who comes out, because the money, of course, supports the 9 Network, which
does.
provides this commercial-free programming. Some of it really, really outstanding, present company notwithstanding. I mean, it's really, well, we like to think that we're up there too, because 32 years, as Ray points out, but we couldn't do it without the support of the viewers.
And it's really amazing how I would like to know how the station ranks, but I know it's one of the most preeminent PBS stations in the country.
It is the
and I
most
know, we're always kind of talking about this problem or that problem, this ranking or that ranking. It's really St. Louis's support of its PBS station is a really, and we're just a little piece of it, but it's really, I think it's an important part of our community that we, and some bragging rights that our community is behind its station the way it is.
Absolutely. And like Charlie said, it just would not happen. If people did not support Channel 9, we wouldn't be here, and half the programs probably that we show wouldn't be here.
We'd still be arguing, but nobody could see
Yeah,
us.
pretty much, right.
We would just be in a bar,
Right,
and it
right.
was really probably get thrown out. And all
That's
that.
why we're glad that you are on the air. And we're going to go back to Phil Wright right now.
If you enjoy Donnybrook, you'll really enjoy Donnybash. It's such a fun evening. And this year, Donnybash 2019 will be Thursday, September the 26th at the Sheldon Theater. You can become a sustaining member at the $12 monthly level, and with that, you'll get 2 tickets to Donnybash plus the 9net mug. Or for $5 a month, you can get 1 ticket to Donnybash. Or if you're unable to attend that evening, for $5 a month, you can get the 9net mug. Such a fun evening. It starts out with the reception beforehand with the Donnybrookers, followed by the live show, which is shown on Channel 9 that evening from the Sheldon, and then it ends up with another live reception afterwards. So you'll have a chance to meet and talk with all of the Donnybrookers and find out what it's like to put on a television show. Now back to Mary Ann. Oh, okay, not so fast with Mary Ann. So, again, as I was saying, it's so easy to become a member. For your $12 monthly contribution, you can get the 2 tickets to Donnybash and the 9net mug. At a sustaining level of $5 a month, you'll get the 1 ticket to Donnybash. If you need more than 2 tickets, just call into our volunteers and they'll be able to help you obtain more tickets. That's easy to do. You can call the number at the bottom of your screen at 800-568-9099 or online 9net.org. That's N-I-N-E net.org. The other gift we have for you is the 9net mug at a $5 level. And
Thank you so much, and we'll see you in September. Ray Hartmann, I want to ask you about Lewis Reid, who was the victor in Tuesday's primary in the city of St. Louis, of course, won the Democratic primary for president of the Board of Aldermen. He does face nominal opposition by the Green Party in the final, so barring any real miracles, he is again going to be the president of the Board of Aldermen. So he defeated Jamila Nasheed and Megan Green, but it was really close. I mean, each of them almost got exactly the same. I mean, about a third, right? He got 35% and the other two
35.6.
got 32%, something like that. So I can't recall anything quite this split into thirds. What do you make of this?
Well, what I make of it is we have a Board of Estimate and Apportionment, which is essentially runs the city. And the mayor did not get 68% of the votes. and the president of the Board of Aldermen did not get 64% of the votes. And I'd like to offer an original idea that I'm borrowing from my friend Vervis Jones, which is that there ought to be a runoff system. That we ought to, that the city, well, while it's still a city, while it's still around, which is debatable, you know, it's, in its short life expectancy, that really it calls for a system that in this case, the top two finishers would then run off till somebody got 50% or whatever. In other words, I think that it really is you talk about divided government, and this this being a three-way race that was that close is really unusual. But remember, Lyda Crewson only beat Tashara Jones by, I want to say, 1.5 points.
Yeah.
So it helps when people have more of a mandate, I think.
I would tend to agree. You know, Louis Reid with his 35 whatever, he won.
He won.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Now, but he only won 5 wards. But they were the heavily, you know, where people bothered to vote wards. I just feel like, you know, there are a lot of people, myself included, really banging our heads over this, you know, better together and all that. But I do have to say to, you know, my North Side friends that you got to vote. And if you don't go out there and you don't vote, then really it's all for naught. And that's why Louis Reid won. Okay, if the North Side heavily wanted Jamila Nasheed to be the president of the Board of Aldermen, it could have very easily happened if you had got out and just turned out more votes. Now let's come back to Jamila. When you lose, it's tough. I understand that. Okay, this is why I just never want to play the game of politics. I'd lose one time and I'd just be crushed. Okay, I'd be done. All right, but for her to attack Megan Green and say, like, you know, the fake you know, the real progressive lost out to the fake one or whatever. What is that about? Now, 2/3 of the people who voted wanted somebody other than Louis Reid. We got that. Forge an alliance from that and go forward. All right, it's up to she and I to protect the city now from Louis Reid and those that want to do what they want to do.
So what did she say about Megan Green?
She said that the fake progressive got in the way of real progress. And I thought that was tacky, and I thought that was a cheap shot.
But they both got about the same.
And Megan Green, to her great credit, responded that she didn't want to attack a woman, and, you know, wasn't going to say anything in response to Jamila Rashid. But I think you're right, Alvin. When it's easy to be gracious when you win something and say, he ran a great race against me. But it's really nice to see somebody be gracious when they've lost. And we just don't see it enough.
Well, and Megan Green, you know, in terms of her progressive bona fides, she's got them. So I'm not sure what Senator Nasheed is talking about. I mean, I think Megan Green has proven herself.
Bad. She's
And
bad.
I understand that, but
Well,
Louis Reid has referred to Senator Nasheed as acting crazy, right? Has occasionally
Insane.
talked
But-
about her acting crazy.
But-
you're never going to be president of the Board of Aldermen if that's what people are
But
thinking about.
here's what happened. Let's say you are a progressive, you're Jamila Nasheed or you're Megan Green. You know, didn't people learn back in the Lyda Crewson race that if you want to defeat the establishment, you can't divide the vote?
Well, yeah, but wait a minute.
What also
Wait a
happened
minute.
here, first of all, the whole thing was complete apathy. 17% of St. Louis showed up. The media was much more interested in this than anyone in the city of St. Louis. It was complete Deadsville on Tuesday. And so I don't know if anyone really cares about this. But also, Nasheed and Green were really known. They got a lot of attention for their protests, both with Jason Stockley and with Ferguson. And guess what? The guy who didn't participate in any of that won. And that's the key. Alvin, you're right. You got to vote. If you want change, you got to show up to vote.
Well, Charlie,
these protests in the streets don't mean anything.
Charlie, let me say this. First of all, Lewis won fair and square, and good for him. And you know, I think, but he's a good.
Barely.
You know,
He's the
I think
incumbent.
he's
He
a
barely
good guy, and he won fair and square. But having said that, you know, this is sort of we're going to give out the Hillary Clinton "I'm entitled to run for this office" award. I mean, you know, Jimmy Matthews, who got 2%, had every bit as much of a right to run for this office as Jamila did, and much less Megan Green.
What are your
somebody
goals,
gets
though?
31.
What are your goals?
No, my point is, you don't get to say that this was mine to run for and that you spoiled it for me. I just don't
Ray,
like that.
There was a time, as you know,
it's-
when politicians would say, "You're going to run. You're going to wait your turn if you want to. If you want to accomplish something.
but
if you just want to get your
But
name on a
by
ballot and have yard signs,
definition,
that's
Charlie,
something else."
But
what
nobody's
flies
arguing
in the
that.
face-
All I'm saying is, okay, they didn't come to a compromise. The three of them won. Jamila has no reason to attack Megan Green for being a fake candidate or something like that.
She got 31%
You
of the
lost.
vote.
You should have got more votes. You should have turned out more people
it's
on
crazy.
the north side, Jamila.
But
It's
by-
not this woman's fault on the south side. It's your people's fault on the north side.
And by definition, the progressives, for anybody who's paying attention, they don't care what the pecking order is. They don't care what the rules have always been. Correct?
Well, then
I
they're
mean, in
not going
terms
to
of
win.
waiting-
They're not going to
waiting
get
your
what they
turn.
want. I don't know what they want. What they don't want, they want public funding for stadia and things like that. And Lewis Reed's for it, so now they'll, the status quo will continue.
But in fairness, Lewis is not that. I mean, I understand
Yes,
he's
he
more
is.
of an establishment figure, but Megan Green ran because she has the idea that it's fake progressive is just ridiculous. Megan Green is clearly the furthest to the left politically of the
Clearly.
three of them. And
Well, Jamila's a fighter. She
No.
says crazy things about Lewis Reed. She says crazy things about
I
Megan.
understand,
That's her
but I'm
style.
just saying
That's how she
Megan Green
operates.
does not
That's
have
not
to
how people
answer to
vote.
anybody for her bona fides as a progressive candidate, and she had every right to run.
Hey, Alvin, I want to ask you about David Steward, who this week was named one of 4 black billionaires in the United States, which is incredible. He lives in St. Louis. Of course, one of the founders of 1989 of Worldwide Technology. Few people realize that before that, he was in the Federal Express Sales Hall of Fame. He had a previous career where he was already like a Hall of Famer when it came to sales. So, remarkable guy. He also has been funding an effort to challenge the Title IX judicial process on campuses where sexual assaults and rapes are now adjudicated. And what he's saying, along with a growing number of people, that at places like Washington University, if you're accused of sexual assault, then you should have a lawyer, you should have notice of the charges, you should be able to confront your accuser, things that people don't have right now. People opposing him, include Washington University, where he sits on the board of trustees. What do you make of this case?
Well, I oppose this too. I think anything that puts any kind of blockade whatsoever for a young lady who has been assaulted to go forward with that charge is just it's just sad. It's sad. I don't know what is going on in this world where young ladies somehow have become like this lightning rod for manliness or whatever, and how dare you charge me, or how dare you say I did anything. It's frightening. And I'm about to send my second daughter to college. She's going to be a freshman next year, probably going to go to Missouri. And this really concerns me, that a man of David Steward's stature would get behind something like this. There are not that many young men who are just falsely accused of sexual assault. I am sorry. I know it happens. But this is like, let's change the laws because we sit
Okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, I was going to say, let me defend David Steward. I think that anybody who's accused of something this serious deserves due process. I mean, the idea that, well, because we made it hard on young women before, now we're going to take every young woman at her word and the man doesn't get any chance. The young man deserves due process, and he deserves the right to confront his accuser, and he deserves counsel. These are serious, life-changing charges, Alvin.
And you said yourself, whether you realized it or not, you said, I know that these things happen. I know that people are unjustly accused. That to me is, and I have 2 girls who went to Mizzou, that to me is just as egregious as a young woman who has been victimized not having, an opportunity to tell her side of the story. But if it's happened at all, there has to be zero tolerance on both sides.
Excuse me. We're oversimplifying this. First of all, it's a matter of degree. Missouri, which is Trump country, is trying to become the legislature, to have the most anti-Title IX legislation in the country, and it will have a real chilling effect. Some of the things they're talking, Bob Onder from St. Charles, a senator, actually threatened at one point Mizzou's appropriations. I think Gary Romines kind of stepped in and said, hey, chill it. But they actually were threatening. But the bottom line is, there's a pendulum here, and it's good. Yes, does Title IX need some tweaks? Sure, it does. But the movement nationally, the Trump administration, Betsy DeVos, wants to completely gut it. Okay, so for example, right now, universities are required to investigate anything involving 2 students, whether it happens on campus or not. Under the Trump proposal, no longer off campus, the university
with
can
that.
walk
Well,
away.
I think that this ought to be a police investigation.
No.
Well, there
These are
are-
criminal charges.
Well, wait,
no,
no,
that's
this
right.
is about whether
This
the
is-
university throws you off campus or not.
Right.
And not, I mean, if you
And this-
if the
right.
police charge you with a crime, okay,
That's fine.
then you will face the judicial system.
Oh, okay, but the police have to charge you with a crime first, Alvin.
But wait, no, I think like, wait a minute, whatever happened, I'm by.
There's
You
a-
get
there's-
off my
Alvin,
campus.
what's
I think
happening
that's
right
fair.
now
Excuse
is
me,
that you
the
have
epi-
professors and students sitting in a courtroom setting. Whereas, why not go to the professionals like the prosecutors, the police, the courts that actually know how to deal with
Charlie,
this?
the epidemic on college campuses is sexual violence, not false accusation. It's as simple as that. And we do not
I know,
need-
but the accused, as Bill says, the accused deserve
I
due
believe in
process.
all-
And that's what I'm saying.
I get
Wait,
that,
We should
but
change our entire
this is-
legal system because we send people to
Right.
prison unjustly for 10, 15, 20 years. We find out that they were innocent. Let's just throw the whole thing out the window.
You don't have to
Right.
go
Right.
We're saying-
out.
that's why we give defendants counsel even if they can't afford it, Alvin, just because that's a constitutional right that you're supposed
Okay.
to have.
I don't
as
know.
an accused.
I-
Maybe we'll
They're
pick it up
on
later.
campus.
Hang on.
Yeah.
We got to take a break because we want to invite folks to join us for the next Donnybash. Thank you so much. Here's some information we hope you use.
Well, what could be better than enjoying Donnybrook on the 9 Network on Thursday nights? How about Donnybash, which is our annual event that's held at the Sheldon Concert Hall, where you have the opportunity to be in the audience for a live broadcast. It's a very special event, and the folks from Donnybrook would tell you if you have never been, you just don't know what you're missing. They get such a kick out of having you in the audience, the reactions that you have, if you take sides with issues, and often the audience does exactly that. And what's great about Donnybash is it starts at 5:30 in the afternoon. The parking is a breeze at the Sheldon Concert Hall. You go in, there are refreshments that you can enjoy, and then you'll take your place in the Sheldon in the theater. And the folks from Donnybrook will be introduced on stage. And wait till you see how that goes. It's great, great fun. And if you've been before, don't be shy, come on back. The folks from Donnybrook would love to see you again. And then after the broadcast, then you will have all that time to meet again with the folks from Donnybrook. So it's before and after, and all of the folks from Donnybrook really, really enjoy this evening. Now the date is Thursday, September 26th. So it may seem far away, but you know what? There are all kinds of holidays coming up for gift giving, whether it's Father's Day that's going to be coming up, whether your parents are having an anniversary or you know some Donnybrook fans in your family, and make a wonderful present, wouldn't it? And here's how you can be in the studio audience for that night on Thursday, September 26th. When you become a sustaining member of the 9 Network at $5 a month, that will get you 1 ticket. But what's even better is if you become a sustaining member of the 9 Network at $12 a month, you'll receive 2 tickets to Donnybash, as well as the handsome 9 Network mug. And we think that's quite a deal. And of course, with both of these memberships, you'll get 9 Magazine for the full year of your membership, as well as Access 9 Passport, where you can enjoy a rich library of on-demand programs that you can watch wherever and whenever you like. Let's go over to our friends from Donnybrook and Phil Wright right now.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Here we are at the Donnybrook table with the panel. And we want to encourage everybody to get a ticket for Donnybash, which is September the 26th, a Thursday evening. Call in to 800-568-9099. So when you have Donnybash, it's so different from being in the studio. How much action and how much just live action from the audience and the electricity do you feel, and does it change the show?
Yeah, it does quite a bit. You know, we kind of react to the audience and vice versa, certainly, and the audience kind of stimulates the discussion. And, you know, it's a little slower show because we have to wait for Alvin's applause lines. You know, so it's kind of like the Oscars or the State of the Union.
Right.
You know, there's that. No, but
The
it's
Oscars, I like that. Maybe they could do it out of host. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That would be interesting.
You know, that is interesting because
No,
the ratings
no.
went up when they got rid of the host,
No,
didn't they?
no, just kidding.
going
Just
anywhere.
kidding.
You know, I will be honest
are
with you
the
guys.
grand poobah.
It is true. Recently, we had a wonderful audience for one of our Your Turns when Wendy and I were on, and it was like the evening when Wendy and I didn't say anything.
Right.
And we found the audience reaction was really good.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Less
But we
of
hope
us,
that-
more of them.
I
That's
hope everyone picks up the phone and calls us and joins us in September, because this is our invitation. It's really a lot of fun for us, but also I hope for people who join us. And of course, it's our big fundraiser for the 9 Network, and we're viewer-supported television. We can't do this without our great, loyal members of the 9 Network.
And don't forget, we get to interact before and after the show,
Exactly.
which is great for us, and especially the before part. We get our lines, ad
Get our
lines.
scripts.
No, actually, we really do get feedback, and sometimes it's very helpful going into the show.
Please call the number 800-568-9099. We want to hear those phones ringing because, of course, that means that you are going to meet us in September.
And you get cool stuff like a mug.
That's right.
That too. So, and the tickets. So.
Yeah, that's
And
the
us.
important part.
Oh, and
yeah,
us.
you can't get
I
in
mean,
without a
come
ticket.
on.
What is really kind of a neat thing is that we have all met the folks who are, they'll come up and introduce themselves, and they will say that they're maybe new to the St. Louis metropolitan area and that they were advised to watch Donnybrook as kind of a primer, how they introduce themselves and actually have, some kind of a working knowledge on what's happening. And I don't think there's any greater compliment than that.
And actually, when I moved back in the mid-'90s, when Reid was already doing the show, seriously, I knew of the show, but that was one of the reasons that I watched, because you learn the names of the players and who's running what business. And at that
Right.
time, Civic Progress was still a big deal. Not that it is anymore, but all these names that I didn't know. And it's a good place to find that information. Hopefully we still do that. But when we do it live, it's even better because people are a part of it, and they're right there. You can see them. They're almost close
whites
enough
of
to
their
touch.
eyes,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. So there's no running away.
And
It's-
Alvin has emerged as our star. He really has. In a lot of ways, he have. And I still, of course, I don't mean to be immodest, but I have people come up all the time and say, "Didn't you used to be Ray Hartmann?" That's when you know you've been on too long.
Yeah.
No, actually, people are very. I think there is a connection in the community with the show, and of course, as I said before, the station, and that's really not. It's been a real special relationship. I really mean that.
It certainly has. And we do invite you to join us. It's easy to do. Call 800-568-9099. And we're going to go back to Mary Ann.
And when you watch some of the footage from another Donnybash, it's hard to tell who's having more fun, the members of Donnybrook or the members of the 9 Network. It is a wonderful evening. Do not miss this. If you have never been to a Donnybash, this should be your first time. And we only have one Donnybash a year. This year, it is scheduled for Thursday, September 26th. The doors open at the Sheldon Concert Hall at 5:30. Parking is an absolute breeze. And of course, with the opening of the doors, you are invited to enjoy refreshments before the actual broadcast starts. And then you will be ushered into the theater. The folks from Donnybrook, who, by the way, will be part of the pre-broadcast festivities, as well as after the broadcast. So you get to meet with them a couple of times. And the reactions after they've discussed and after they've done the show is really fun. Now, 2 ways to get there. First of all, if you become a sustaining member at $5 a month, you get 1 ticket to Donnybash. But this is a wonderful deal we're giving you. If you become a sustaining member at $12 a month, you'll receive 2 tickets to this year's Donnybash, plus the handsome 9 Network mug. So what a deal. Either of those membership levels, you will receive 9 Magazine for the full year of your membership, as well as 9 Passport. That gives you on-demand access to lots of programs on the 9 Network that you can watch anytime, anywhere you like. But do not put it off. You want to be there for Donnybash this year. Call us now.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the next Donnybash. Well, Wendy Wiese, I think some of our listeners, viewers, know that you have family working in Hollywood, and so I wanted to ask you. You do, it's true. I mean,
Yeah,
it's true. Is it not true?
it's true.
Okay, it's true.
It's true.
So, let me ask you about a measure going through the General Assembly in Jefferson City, which would return tax credits for movie producers who want to do business in Missouri. They pretty much dried up after we had Up in the Air and a few other movies shot here. Do you think that we should return tax credits so that Hollywood can come back to St. Louis and Springfield, Cape Girardeau, and shoot movies for Netflix and whomever else?
I absolutely do, and I think that most people who do have Netflix have been, kind of puzzled and amused by the fact that Ozark is filmed in Georgia. And it's about the Lake of the Ozarks, and it's clearly about the Lake of the Ozarks. And they shot some exteriors in Bagnell Dam or where have you. The 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. It was actually 3 billboards outside of some town in North Carolina. So we are leaving a lot of money on the table, I think. And I think with the fact that the studio system is changing rapidly. And they are looking for lower priced areas, to shoot, and than maybe some of the large municipal areas. I think outstate Missouri, absolutely. I think we should have restored.
The only part of that I disagree with is when you said I think. There's no question about it. There's no question that this is for whatever you want to say about corporate welfare, this is a serious, and the person that really led the charge before, one of the great St. Louisans of all times, Kim Tucci, through his CVC work, was lead, and he was so mad at Jay Nixon because Jay Nixon, a fellow Democrat, had pulled the rug on this thing, and it was and I remember writing about it. I thought it was one of the worst things the Nixon administration, the Jay Nixon administration here did, and Kim was right. I mean, this is seriously a big economic development thing and a big tourism thing, and it is the idea that we would not want to compete with other states for this business is just ludicrous.
Well, how's it a big tourism thing?
It brings in all kinds.
What? It brings in people say, "Oh boy, they sling a lot of meth in Missouri, and they shoot it there too." I mean, what is that about?
It brings economic activity.
Hey, Ray, I guess Ray didn't
read
read Dave Nicholas's column a couple weeks ago when he said, you can crunch the numbers and people do it. It really doesn't turn out to be economic development.
I think
what happens is if I give, let's say Ray's a movie producer, and I give him $1 million tax credit, that means that either Ray can reduce his tax obligation to the state of Missouri by $1 million, so the state gets $1 million fewer dollars, or he can sell it to somebody who will do that.
But what's
so that
generated?
comes out of the budget. And that means that some program for schools or roads, bridges, courts gets $1 million less.
I agree. And if we want to do something, how about nurturing some producers and some directors and create movies here ourselves? If we're going to spend the money, how about we spend it on St. Louisans, Missourians who are trying to launch their film career? I just don't think Hollywood needs our money.
Well, I'm telling you, it's a competition for those revenues, and the states that get a lot of economic activity that justifies the cost of those tax credits. And not all tax credits pay for themselves this way. I happen to believe this is one that does.
Well, I think it makes the state look fun. Like when George Clooney was here, I recently took, by the way, a tour of the Chase Park Plaza, which is a great tour. They do it every Saturday morning at 10:30. And I got no interest in this, whatever, but it was great. It was good history. I will say this. They said that George Clooney hung out in the lobby and he shook hands and he was really friendly, and that's great. But how much did we have to give Jason Reitman to shoot Up in the Air here? I mean, that's coming out of somebody's budget. And unless his hotel stay there, at 14% tax is generating $1 million.
Don't they spend enough money when they
spend
took
money?
land
It's
to
tourism.
develop this
It
stuff,
is
Darling?
tourism.
You
the
act
hospitality
like he's the
industry.
only one in a crew. They have a crew of 200 people sometimes who come in and generate money and food and beverage and hospitality costs. So it's not just George Clooney.
Between this and the free admission to the zoo, we do more things to say we don't want your tourist
we don't
dollars.
want you.
Stay away with your tourist dollars. Come for free.
Well, you come all these tourists that are coming. I just don't see any tourists. My wife was an extra in Bigger Than Life.
Do matter,
when Bill Murray and they were taking the
Larger Than
elephant.
Life.
Larger Than Life. She was an extra on that. Okay, that movie's come here, but I don't think we have to give them the farm. And tell me what tourism comes because somebody's in a movie, and also that 200 people crew, they ain't staying at the Chase Park Plaza.
Okay,
they at the Super 8 someplace.
But they're still paying.
I want to ask you about Amtrak, which was examined in the Wall Street Journal this week, at least the line that goes between St. Louis and Chicago. Turns out the high-speed rail is not going to be that fast. It's going to have top speeds of about, 110 miles an hour. If you go to Korea, it's closer to 300 miles an hour, and other countries as well. They're spending a lot of money on it, but basically a 5.5-hour ride is going to be 4.5 hours. Not really that fast. You think it's worth it?
Well, I like the idea of traveling by rail, and I wish they were going 300 miles an hour. But if 100 is all they're due, unless we can get that Hyperloop. Remember that thing? We were going to get in a little thing and go to Kansas City in 15 minutes or something. I mean, something crazy.
Why?
But if we can't do that, the train. I like the train.
I'm with Bill, but I don't understand how our country can be so far behind Europe and Asia. I mean, it's like we got to the moon first, didn't? And now they're saying we're down to where the fastest train we can figure out is 90 miles an hour from here to Chicago. And I was a disciple of Rich Bullet Train Pisani, I remember, and he was going to do it. But the thing is. And I have to admit, it's been a challenge. I know California is kind of throwing up their hands on doing it out there. I really believe that high speed, at one point they were talking about connecting Champaign and Columbia, which was a great idea with high speed transit, because you could, the two universities. I think anything we can do to encourage, and it's not just because of the Green New Deal, although that's a fine thing. I think we ought to encourage, high-speed travel. I don't understand why it's down to 90 miles.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. It's expensive because, and we still have not gotten over the fact that we like cars, we drive cars. Right. Oh, people wouldn't buy as much gas. That gets in the way of me making my money. And the people that stand between us and having high-speed rail are the people that don't want you riding the train at all. It's the industries that would rather see travel like that just go away. And our state could stand up and say, like, hey, between Kansas City and St. Louis, we're doing a high-speed rail.
And it's flat.
And it's flat.
It is flat.
Flat land. We ought to be able
and we're just going
Like the
to
Earth.
compete
It
with
would
the
cost
Japanese
billions.
and the Koreans.
Who's going to pay for it?
But it wouldn't cost billions between here and Kansas City.
Well, it's supposed to cost $77 billion between San Francisco and Los Angeles.
It was a couple.
And you also had to blow your way through mountains and everything else.
Right.
They admitted, said, like, there is no direct route between Los Angeles and San Francisco. That's why it would cost so much money.
All righty. Let's thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Let's see what the viewers had to say about last week's program. Martin Logan wrote, a caller suggested the death penalty for carjacking. Alvin said that wouldn't work because then all guns would need the death penalty. Great. Thank you, Mr. Logan. We also heard from Ray Kozner of St. Louis County. I've noticed many times that everyone stops and listens respectfully when Bill McClellan speaks. Bill makes a good point in one or two thoughtful sentences. Then he stops talking. I wish the other panelists could do that. And we heard from Cheryl Foster, who wrote, I'm so glad that the program is available via podcast. It's so much easier to catch episodes I missed. She's right. And you can write us care of KETC 3655 Olive Street, St. Louis, Missouri 63108. Don't forget those emails, letters at ketc.org, and hashtag Donnybrook STL for the tweets. Cheryl Foster can find us, and you can too, on these podcast locations, Apple, Spotify, TuneIn, and Google Play. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you join us as well in September for Donnybash.
Donnybrook is made possible by the members of the 9 Network.
Polite conversation among the Donnybrookers is always fascinating, and it's even more entertaining when you see it live. And that's why we invite you tonight to become a member of Channel 9 and 9 Net. And get a ticket to see Donnybash, which is Thursday, September the 26th at the Sheldon Theater. It's so easy to become a member. All you have to do is call 800-568-9099, and one of our 9Net volunteers will be happy to assist you. You can become a sustaining member at the $12 a month level. That will get you 2 tickets to see Donnybash plus the 9Net mug. At the $5 sustainer level, you'll get 1 ticket to see Donnybash. If you are unable to join us that night, though, you can, at $5, you can get the 9Net mug. As I said, seeing Donnybash is an experience you won't want to miss. There's a reception both before and after the show. You go into the Sheldon Theater, which is a lovely theater here in Grand Center. Watch the Donnybrook show go live and listen to all the interaction between the Donnybrookers. And believe you me, they are lively. As a member of Channel 9, you'll support all the good works that we do, support public television, and the many good programs that you enjoy every day. Now we are going to go over to Mary Ann and the panel.
That was
What a lively discussion we are having here at the Donnybrook table. This is wonderful. It just
still
never.
talking,
Yes,
sorry.
I know it's okay. It never stops, which is great.
Well,
'cause
we gotta
the
go back to the
energy-
local stuff. I
Yeah,
think in
we
a
do,
hurry.
don't
We're
we? We
talking-
have to take a little
we'll go
break
back.
there. But you know, one of the things I love about Donnybash is they actually take this whole set and take it over to the Sheldon. So it's wonderful.
It's a huge task, and thanks to the crew, which we have the best crew
have a-
ever
Yes.
here at the
Oh,
9
we-
Network.
We
Yeah.
really do need to say that.
Yes,
That's a
because
good
as you
thing
see
to-
it set up, if you're looking at your screen now, you can see how it's set up. And all this goes, they have the cameras are different, you know, alignment, all of it is perfect. It makes for a perfect show, but it just doesn't film itself.
No.
So
These
salute
are
the
very
crew.
these are very patient gentlemen we have here.
Yes,
very
very
patient
patient.
and
Right.
understand. No, but it's
It's quite a production, isn't it? And it's but it's wonderful because that's what's fun about Donnybash. And I was telling people before, if you've never been, it's like you really don't know what you're missing, do you? Because it's just a whole different feeling. It's a whole different energy because people
Yes.
who are in the audience are actually part of the show.
I think so.
And I think that's why they come year after year. I think that's why so many people, because they will walk up and they'll say, this is our 9th or our 11th or whatever. And we will ask that, you never get tired of it. And they say, how could we get tired of it? Because everybody, the news stories change, the politicians change, the players, obviously. So it is really a celebratory. I hope that we're conveying that enough to the folks at home,
Absolutely.
that it's a big party wrapped around
is.
a Donnybash.
About a show.
Right.
And one of the best things I hear is always, like, if we invite people, kind of our guests, and you tell them, like, this is the live taping, Sheldon, all that. It's a live show. It's kind of cool, all that. And afterwards, they said, like, it really was a live show.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they really, unless you experience it, you really get that feeling. And they said, like, no, you weren't kidding. It really is a live show. I said, like, yeah, I wasn't joking. Right. The light comes on, and we go for our, 45 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever. And there's also questions from the audience, so you can.
Oh, there are.
You
Well,
can,
that's
you can
good.
take part in
See,
that
that's
way
good.
too.
I think it's a fast hour. That's what
Oh,
everybody
it's
says too.
so
lightning
fast.
fast.
It's fast
right.
for
It is
us, and it's
so
fast for
fast.
people in the audience. It's like, wow, that's come and gone so quickly. But it's more exhilarating than the usual broadcast. And I've said this before. I don't think there's any other television station in St. Louis that has a live broadcast on an annual basis.
No.
Maybe not even in the
I don't-
country.
nationally. Yeah, I don't think nationally.
And I don't. Even the shows that come on at night, you are not that has happened before you were seeing it. It is taped.
True.
All right, the late night shows. Ours is really live. We're talking what your show is shows and Sid Caesar and all that action. Where there is no going
And
back.
you don't
until
go
that.
And
back.
ours has a bar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Now,
an open
that's
bar,
fun,
but it's a bar.
And that's very important.
How many television talk shows have that?
Absolutely.
Just a few.
But that's one reason it's good that the hour goes by fast because we can get to the post game. It's
Yeah,
like,
well, that's right.
get
The 19th
analyzed.
hole.
Right, exactly. Let the audience analyze us, which they do, which is fun.
They
also.
do, sure.
Right.
And I'm sure that they don't take any sides during the program.
Oh,
right?
none
No,
whatsoever.
A little bit.
They do.
They're pretty friendly and respectful. Oh, and we try to
But
be
vocal,
as well.
which is good.
Generally,
Very vocal.
generally.
Very vocal. That's good.
Right. Now,
But fair-minded and so civil. That's what there's all this talk about the lack of civility today.
Right.
And if you come to a Donnybash, you are going to see some very civil people who disagree strongly with each other, but they still are enjoying the evening, and I think that's one of the best parts of the entire evening.
Well, and that is the whole spirit of your show, is civility and respect, even though you disagree. And it's been a hallmark of your show for, what, 32 years now that you all have been on the air.
It's true.
32 years.
Few people realize it, but after the programs, we usually convene in a local watering hole and we discuss
now?
things, and that's kind of been a tradition.
But that's good, because then that leads to more discussion. And it's,
Yes.
Yeah.
And we all get asked, do you guys really like each other? And I tell them, no, truthfully, we're friends, and it wouldn't work any other way. I think if,
No,
if,
that's
if,
so
if,
true.
If not.
We don't care for Bill. Now,
Yeah.
now that he's not here, we can
Right,
say
Bill.
we can say what we
Oh,
want to.
yourself.
Yeah, no.
There's that.
And no one ever disagrees with Ray.
No, no,
Ever.
no.
Not in real
Love
life.
it.
No.
We're going to go back over to Phil right now.
And it's so easy to become a member of Channel 9, the 9 network of public media. To become a sustaining member at the $12 level per month, you just call in to 800-568-9099 and you'll receive 2 tickets to Donnybash and the 9 network mug. Or for the $5 a month sustainer level, you get 1 ticket to Donnybash. Should you need more tickets than 2, just let the volunteer on the phone line know and they'll be happy to assist you to get as many tickets as you need. If you're unable to join us on September the 26th at the Sheldon for the Donnybash production, you can also join at the $5 level and receive the 9net mug. Donnybash is always a lot of fun. You meet the Donnybrookers. They're happy to talk with everybody, and not only do you meet them, but you meet the other members of the audience who, like yourself, really enjoy the weekly conversations. And it's surprising when you go to Donnybash, when you start talking to the other people attending, how far they drive in. They come from Illinois and all parts of Missouri. It's really an interesting evening, and the Sheldon is such a beautiful venue to have this at. You'll find that on stage, you'll see the see the same set that you see here in the studio. And again, that's an easy way to join 9 Network. At $12 a month, the sustainer level, you'll get the 2 tickets to Donnybash and the mug. Or at the $5 a month level, you'll get 1 ticket. Please call now at 800-568-9099. Thank you and good night.